Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. I am Ryan Bowling. Thank you all for joining me once again. So, in Utah, a man walks into a Catholic church with a wooden sword, according to this article I'm about to read you guys, with a wooden sword, and he attacks several of the members of the particular church and some other things. Look, I'm going to read you guys this article, and I'm going to give you guys my opinion on a couple of things that stood out in this particular article that I read. Now, I'm going to bring something out here that's very important here. Uh, I'm going to keep it on this particular video. I'm going to keep it on a both natural and political level. Okay, I'm not going to mention much of the spiritual side of this because those of you that may be Christians that are watching this, you know there's a spiritual undertoning in this. And I shared this some time ago that we're going to see an increase in this kind of stuff on the spiritual side. But I'm going to leave that for my other channel, which is my Christian channel. So you guys can go to that one if you so desire to do so. But here I'm going to keep this purely political, economical, and natural. Okay, so yeah, let's get right into this. Now I can't promise that in every video, though. Okay, I'm not going to promise that in every video, but let's get right into this. So it says a man is accused of randomly ambushing Catholic churchgoers with a wooden sword on Sunday in Salt Lake City, Utah. Fox 13 reported. Chandler Grillon, 31, allegedly walked into the cathedral of the Madeleine during mass carrying a bamboo sword and attacked several people without, in this quote, without provocation or indication of reasoning, police said. Keep that in mind, without provocation or any indication of reasoning. Grillon allegedly hit two people with a sword and punched a third person, breaking their glasses, police said. When police arrested Grillon, he allegedly resisted, and officers had to restrain him using a, quote, wrap device, whatever the heck that is, a kind of full-body restraint designed to minimize injury to both the arrestee and police. Grillon is facing charges for aggravated assault, according to the report. He was being held in jail without bail as of Sunday. Yeah, and I just want to speak a few brief minutes on this. First, I want to speak on the latter part of it, where it says that this individual resisted, and officers had to restrain him with this wrap device. Okay, and the purpose is a full body restraint designed to minimize injury to both the arrestee and police. I find that interesting because here is a man that assaulted some innocent people in the church. And allegedly, according to the article, he broke one person's glasses. You know, who's to say that you know, it couldn't have scratched a person's eyes? I don't know. You know, but I find it interesting that I'm going to assume that Utah is liberal. You know, there's going to be a liberal. They got liberal politicians, whatever. And I find it interesting. You don't have to be liberal. You could just be in a particular region. But I find it interesting that it seems to be that that the police were more concerned about not hurting this individual than what this individual did in terms of hurting people inside the church, for crying out loud. You know, we don't want to hurt him. We don't want to risk injury to ourselves, but we also don't want to risk injury to him. Now, look, the person could have been mentally ill. I don't know. We'll get to that in a minute. But when it comes down to you resisting the police and stuff like that, yes, I know they want to, minimize injury, but this guy assaulted some people with a wooden sword, coming in with a wooden sword. You don't know what this man could have tried to do. Could have tried to cut someone, could have tried to stab someone, could have tried to, you don't know. And when we become so concerned about the criminals and the crazy people out here that we don't want to hurt them, then we are going backwards, okay? So that's what I wanted to speak on that. Yeah, that's just insane to me. You're more concerned about injuring this particular person rather than protecting people, but, whatever. That's another story in and of itself. But I wanted to talk a few brief minutes on the idea of this increase of attacks against people in the church. I think I said that on my Christian channel, these attacks against people in churches and so forth. Now, like I said, I'm going to keep this purely political and on a natural level. because those of you who are Christians, you know there's a spiritual component to this. So, but I'm not going to mention it here. Let's deal with this on a political level. Now, let's look at this political. Why would this man, assuming that he's a sane person, that he's not mentally ill, because people always divert to that, well, he's mentally ill, which I find interesting because it seems like all these so-called mentally ill people want to attack churches. Now, it seems like to me, if you're so mentally ill, then why would you attack churches on a consistent basis? There's an increase in this. Why are all these mentally ill people attacking Christians in their own churches? Doesn't sound like mental illness to me, because if you was mentally ill, you would not be cognitive of people in the church. But anyway, you mentally ill. You don't know what you're doing. But anyway, let's look at this politically. I think that part of the reason why we're seeing an increase in these unprovoked acts of violence, not only against people in the church, but people in general, and we're going to see more of an increase of unprovoked actions of violence against people, is because, number one, the drugs that they're using. In the state of Ohio, they're working on this legalization of marijuana, recreational marijuana, and I know people say, well, that's just marijuana, it's no big deal, woo, 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 woo. And to some extent, you're right, but not necessarily. People always use it, well, it's marijuana. But first of all, we don't know what they're putting in this marijuana. We don't know what these people are putting. We don't know what the elites are putting in this so-called recreational marijuana. We don't know what they're putting in it. How do we know? Well, they can't put anything crazy in. How do you know? How do you know that store, that dispensary right there, that somebody didn't lace it with something? Some crazy person in the store didn't lace it with. We don't know. We have no clue. We have no clue. So we're going to see, I think, in part of the reasoning for these unprovoked acts of violence is because of the drugs that people are taking, and some of this marijuana that they're smoking is not so-called recreational, whatever. Some of this stuff, I personally believe, I can't prove it, but my gut tells me there are certain chemicals in this marijuana that is not the natural chemicals that it should be, okay? And that something is, and these chemicals are somehow affecting these people on a mental and psychological basis, and they're just committing acts of violence unprovoked, but also other drugs that they're taking that's coming from across the borders, that these drugs are having a horrible effect on these people's minds. They're driving them crazy. They're eating up their brain cells, and people they just don't know where they are, okay? But the other thing on a purely political level is, I think, too, is that a lot of these people are attacking churches because a lot of the churches are against, particularly Catholic churches, and a lot of the, I won't say a lot of them, but a significant number of the Protestant churches, the real ones, right, are against certain policies that local, state, and federal governments are pushing. They're against that. And they may not be against it very vocally, in the sense that they're getting on TV or getting on YouTube or whatever and expressing their opposition to these policies that are being pushed. But in general, they have stated that they're against these kind of policies in their local church. And I think that a lot of people who want to just do whatever they want to do, act however they want to act, drink whatever they want to drink, take whatever kind of drugs they want to take, live whatever kind of life they want to live, viva la voca, whatever. I mean, the church, a lot of these Christians are a opposition to that. A lot of their worldviews are in opposition to that. It conflicts with what they want. So in order to diminish that, they attack churches. Church Christians are like a stain on them. I'm talking about real Christians, the ones that not just profess it, but actually live in it. They're like a stain on them. And so a lot of these people, I believe, in my opinion, are attacking a lot of the churches on a political and natural basis. They're attacking a lot of the churches because a lot of these churches are against a lot of the things that they stand for. So in an indirect way, it's like, we're going to attack the people in the church. We're going to make them fearful, whatever, No, that's not going to happen. We may be aware, but not fearful. That's not happening. Satan, you a lie. But anyway, so I think that's what's going on here. This is an unfortunate situation. I'm glad no one lost their lives in reference to this. It's just crazy. But unfortunately, I hate to be cynical. But as I said earlier, in summing up this video and closing, we're going to see more of an increase of these kind of unprovoked and unreasonable acts of violence against people in the church and against people in general. People are going to start going crazy. You're going to see people just walking down the street, hooping and hollering at the top of their lungs, and then they're striking people, maybe stabbing people, maybe shooting people just in random. Unprovoked, no reason for it at all. They're just going to start doing it. You're going to see an increase in that. Mark my word. I hope I'm wrong. Let me take that back. I won't say mark my word. But I believe that's what's going to happen. You're going to see an increase in unprovoked acts of violence. Extreme violence is going to increase. And let me say this, and I'm going to close it up, and I promise. The closer we get to the election, the closer we get to it, okay, you're going to see this type of stuff increase more and more. It's going to seem like people going back crazy. The rage and the anger is going to increase to a level that's going to blow your mind, in my opinion. Okay, so I just wanted to say that. Be ready for that, and be ready for it, and protect yourself and your family, your loved ones. That's the advice I can give you. See, a country that has no moral restraints, and a country that believes that, hey, we can be soft on crime, and because these people are oppressed and they're living in poverty, and that's why they commit these acts of violence. You see what that's leading us to. When you don't have any laws, you have chaos. Bottom line. But that's what I had to say about that. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all. See you again.